Om Jnana. Is it connected? Earphones? Neham Shri Guru Shri Tapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnava Shri Rupam Sadhyatam Sadhyatam Thani Tantam Sadhaitam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Shri Vishakanta Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Dasa Swami Nitinamine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavani Pachyatya Devshatani Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gauravatanda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Rama. So continuing our discussion on introduction of Bhagavad Gita. So before going ahead, we will just revise what we discussed yesterday. So spiritual life, we discussed yesterday that spiritual life is scientific, it is based on knowledge, and it's not blind faith and blind believing. And spiritual life, whatever, everything we discuss and understand should be based on Shastra. Shruti Smriti Purana Adi Pancharatri ki Bhimina. Siddhanta Baliya Chitte Na Karo Alas. This is shlokas we discussed yesterday. And among all the Shastras, the essence of all the Shastras is Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So Bhagavad Gita is considered the preliminary study of Srimad Bhagavatam. So all the Acharyas, they have glorified Srimad Bhagavatam as the topmost scripture. We studied that the shloka of Srinivas Chakrabarti in Chaitanya Manjusa. What was that shloka? Aradhyo Bhagavan Bhaje Satanyos Tad Dhama Vrindavan Shramya Kachidupasana Bhajapadhu Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amalam. And so Srimad Bhagavatam is considered the most high. This is considered the highest Puran among all the Puranas, and it is Puranam Amalam. There is no contamination because it gives the science of devotional service without any materialism. It's a pure spiritual science. And Bhagavad Gita is a preliminary study of that. Also, we discussed the first point we discussed is everything should be based on Shastra. The second point is how Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam is the essence of all scriptures. Studying Bhagavad Gita, how it is important, and another point in that how Bhagavad Gita is the importance of studying Bhagavad Gita is prasthantaraya. Apart from this shloka Aradhyo Bhagavan Vajestam Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amalam. Apart from that, one more reason we have discussed is it's a part of prasthantaraya, which has been accepted in spiritual scholarly sutra Alpaksharam Asandigdham. And like that, this definition is there. I'll give you that. And also we discussed that how another point in establishing Srimad Bhagavatam as the topmost scripture, another reason which we gave is the despondency of Vyasadeva and Narada chastising Vedvyas. Which was that shloka? 1.5.15, in which Narad Muni chastises Vedvyas for not compiling a literature which is directly establishing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So these are the three reasons which we discussed yesterday. Now today, one more thing we discussed, that how Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita are in the form of conversations. And there are conversations within conversations and conversations within conversations. And at a time, there are 7 conversations happening in Bhagavatam. So, Bhagavad Gita is written in the form of conversations, in the form of questions and answers. Another thing, Bhagavad Gita is a conversation between Krishna and Arjuna, and Sanjay and Dhritarashtra, and Vaishampayan Muni and Janmejaya. So one of the shlokas which we discussed is in first chapter 19th shloka. Like that, there are few more shlokas. Some 7, 8 more shlokas are there, in where Vaishampayan Muni spoke to Janmejaya. So it was compiled by Vedvyas and it was written by Ganesh, Bhagavad Gita. And it was a conversation between these 3 people, 6 people. So from 2nd to 18th shloka, Sanjaya spoke, and in the 19th shloka, this Vaishampayan spoke. And like that, there are many other references. So till Bhagavad Gita is considered a book on highest religious principle and morality. And Bhagavad Gita is special among all other scriptures in the sense that there are many things in Bhagavad Gita which are not there in any other scriptures, in Bible or Quran. There are many aspects of God, the explanation of God and his different energies, the science of God, the way it is explained. It is not there in any other scripture, in Bible or Quran or such scriptures. And we also discussed that what happens to those who are not faithful on understanding Bhagavad Gita. Right? We discussed this. Right? What happens to those who are not faithful to understand Bhagavad Gita? Few references I gave. You remember? Huh? Agyascha Shraddhadhanascha Sanshayatma Vinashyati Nayam Lokosti Na Paro Na Sukham Sanshayatmana. And those who are not faithful to understand Bhagavad Gita, what happens? Vinashyati. Different purports and shlokas we discussed. Also, we discussed 3rd chapter, 32nd shloka. What was that shloka? 3rd chapter, 32nd shloka. Ye me matamidam nityam anutishtanti manava shraddhavanto anasuyanto muchante te api karmabhi. Ye to etad abhyasuyanto nanutishtanti me matam sarva gyan vimunam tam vidhi nashtan uchetasa. Ashtan. Those who out of enviousness don't accept me as the supreme God, vidhi nashtan achetasa. They will be lost. There are a few shlokas. Also, we discussed in the 18th chapter. Also, it is na shoshasi vinangshasi. If you don't follow this instruction, you will be lost. And in the ending of 11th chapter, in the purport, Prabhupada writes, there is no possibility of getting perfect spiritual knowledge if you do not take to Bhagavad Gita. In the 11th chapter, in the ending, Prabhupada says. So those who don't understand Bhagavad Gita, they'll fall down and they cannot be liberated. In the 3rd chapter, 31st shloka, purport, Prabhupada writes. So now the question comes, is Bhagavad Gita fanatic or dogmatic? Because Krishna says here, those who don't understand Bhagavad Gita, they'll be lost. So it looks like Krishna is threatening. If you don't understand Bhagavad Gita, you'll be lost. So this is like fanaticism. If you don't accept Quran, they'll kill you. If you don't accept Bible, you'll eternally doomed in hell. In Bible there is a concept of eternal damnation. Have you heard? Yeah, eternal damnation. So is it similar to that? The instructions, somebody may say like that. Why Krishna is speaking like that? Dogma. What is the meaning of dogma? Dogma means some statement or philosophy which cannot be questioned. You cannot question. And if you question, then it's sinful. Questioning is considered as sinful. You cannot question and argue. So this is the case with religions, the modern religion specifically in today's world. So the modern religion in today's world, they are the cause of atheism. Religion is supposed to promote theism, you know, make people understand the science of God. But unfortunately, in modern world, religion has become the cause of atheism. So how they become a cause of atheism? Because of their fanatic and dogmatic nature. Nobody can question. You just have to accept whatever is being said. So scientism, there is another thing called scientism. Scientism is also fanaticism. Scientism means whatever science says, you have to accept. Scientism. You cannot question it. We came from monkeys, we have to accept. You cannot question it. So if you question it, you will be considered uh, not so good. You cannot question. So this is also fanaticism. So whatever goes in the name of religion and science, they are all sentimentalism or fanaticism or dogma. Srila Prabhupada in third chapter, third shloka, he defines uh, what is the definition of dogma. What is dogmatic? Religion without philosophy is sentiment or sometimes fanaticism, while philosophy without religion is mental speculation. So that religion which is without philosophy, right? It is sentimentalism, or sometimes fanaticism. There is no philosophy. There are just rituals and some practices, and you have to follow that. You cannot discuss any philosophy behind those rituals. You have to do that. So this is fanaticism. This is dogma. So Prabhupada defines here in third chapter, third shloka. So in this way, religion has become the cause of atheism because the whole atmosphere is saturated with this kind of opinions. So Krishna in Bhagavad Gita is not promoting any dogma. Krishna here establishes his own supremacy and the supremacy of devotional service. He brings out all different philosophies and smashes down all the different philosophies, different conceptions, and also he emphasizes the importance of faithfully accepting Bhagavad Gita, and and the fact that it is in the form of conversation and question and answers. And the whole Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, what it is? It's just conversations and questions and answers. The fact that this is in itself is the proof that it is not dogma, because there is somebody who is asking question and somebody is answering. So how it can be dogma? How it can be fanaticism? So we can say that apart from Bhagavad Gita, whatsoever scriptures are there, whatever philosophies are there, it is all either sentimentalism or mental speculation or fanaticism or dogma, apart from Bhagavad Gita, and especially Bhagavad Gita as it is. Because there is no philosophy in the modern world which is existing, which philosophically convinces its followers, just on the basis of some sentiments, fanaticism, or dogma, or mental speculation. Science is one form of mental speculation. So the statements of Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, where he expresses uh, his sympathy and compassion in the form of warning. It's not fanaticism. It's a sympathy and compassion for those who for those people who don't want to understand Bhagavad Gita, who don't have faith on Bhagavad Gita. It is not. It should not be taken as some fanaticism. It should be taken as a sympathy and compassion. Right. So if you do not understand this, what will be your position? Now we'll discuss who is not qualified to hear Bhagavad Gita. We discussed what happens to those who do not have faith on Bhagavad Gita. We discussed, and we also discussed that how Krishna's statements are not dogmatic. It's a expression of sympathy and compassion, and the fact that he answers to all the questions of Arjuna. He is not fanatic. And another thing is, now we are going to discuss this: who is not qualified to hear Bhagavad Gita? So, in the 18th chapter, 67th shloka. So, whenever you all come for discussion, please bring Bhagavad Gita, because we are doing Bhakti Shastri on Bhagavad Gita. So, we should have Bhagavad Gita. So, we'll be studying in depth the different shlokas and purports we'll be discussing. So, everybody should have one copy of Bhagavad Gita. So, in the 18th chapter, 67th shloka, Krishna says, Idam te na tapaskaya na bhaktaya kadachana na cha shushushave vachyam na cha mamyo abhyasuyati. And in the 18th chapter 67th shloka. So here Krishna says, who is not qualified to understand Bhagavad Gita? Na tapaskaya. One who does not perform austerities. One who is not austere. Prabhupada defines this austerity for religious principles. Prabhupada writes here. Austerities of the religious process defines, not tapaskaya. So one should perform austerity. What is austerity? And there are four pillars of religious life. We all know that. So four pillars of religious life, what are those? No meat eating, no illicit sex, no intoxication, no gambling. Which is that? And these four pillars are broken by four sinful practices. What are those four sinful practices which break these four pillars? Now I will start with no meat eating. Which sinful activity will bring? How meat eating? Four pillars of dharma are austerity, cleanliness, truthfulness, and mercy and compassion. Mercy, austerity, cleanliness, and truthfulness. Now, we have to match this thing. Mercy is broken by? Very good. So we can remember it. Yeah. So mercy is broken by meat eating. Truthfulness is broken by gambling. Austerity is broken by intoxication. Austerity is broken by intoxication. So it is said here, not tapaskaya. Someone who is not austere or in performing religious process. So we can say that one who intoxicates, he cannot understand Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is saying one who is not austere cannot understand Bhagavad Gita. So how one fails to perform austerity? When one intoxicates, that intoxication breaks the pillar of austerity. So it is saying here, one who intoxicates, he will find very difficult to understand the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. So another disqualification which is mentioned here, na bhaktaya. One is not a devotee of Krishna. One is not one who does not. Prabhupada writes in the introduction of Bhagavad Gita that one should at least theoretically accept Bhagavad Krishna as the supreme personality of God. For those who are trying to read and understand Bhagavad Gita, so in the beginning, one must have at least a theoretical understanding that Krishna is God, at least a theoretical understanding. So here it is mentioned here is na bhaktaya kadachana na cha shushushave vachyam. What is ashushushave? Ashushushave. The Prabhupada translates that as one who has not tended a pure devotee. That is how he translates. In the third line, you can see one who has not tended a pure devotee. That means one who has not served a pure devotee. He cannot understand Bhagavad Gita. So why we are discussing these things? Because we also want to understand Bhagavad Gita. So we have to see where we have to be careful. So what we should have austerity in our life. Some tapasya should be there. Specifically, it should not be gross violation of intoxication. Apart from that, we should attempt to perform devotional service. We may not be very firmly situated because now we are starting to read Bhagavad Gita and we are starting to understand Bhagavad Gita. So we may not be firmly situated in devotional service, but we should attempt with full faith, or at least the basic faith that Krishna is God. And we should attempt. And another disqualification is one who has not tended to a pure devotee. So one should try to serve a pure devotee. So it is said how one should deal with different devotees in nectar of instruction. What is the passage? 1977. Okay, so when it is said here that who is not qualified, how one should behave with different devotees in the nectar of instruction, it is said. So we'll just read. Srila Rupa Goswami has advised in nectar of instruction. Krishneti yasya giritam manasadriyeta dikshasti chet pranatibhis bhajantam isham. Shushushaya, the same word comes, Shushushaya. Bhajantam bhajana vigyam ananyam anya. Nindadi shunya hridam ipsita sanga labdhya. So one should mentally honor the devotee who chants the holy name of Krishna. And one should offer humble obeisances to the devotee who has undergone spiritual initiation. Dikshasti chet pranatavischa bhajantam isham. One who is engaged in devotional service and one who is initiated, one should offer obeisances to him. One who is chanting Krishna's name, one should honor him, mentally honor him. There should be mental honor. And shushushaya bhajana vigyam anandamanya. But one should serve a devotee who is bhajana vigyam. And one should associate with faithfully and serve that pure devotee who is advanced in undeviated devotion service and whose heart is completely devoid of the propensity to criticize others. Nindadi shunya hridav ipsita sanga labdhya. Sanga labdhya. One should associate. And how to associate? And by service. How to associate with him? In the mood of service. So, what is the qualification of such a devotee? Whom we should serve? So, Shusha means service. One should serve. Whom to serve? What should be his qualification? He should be bhajana vigyam. He should know who is Krishna, and he should be properly situated, and he should have advanced. He should have advanced vigyam. Vigyam means he's advanced in bhajan. And ananyam is very intensely absorbed. Nindadi shunya. He doesn't criticize. So doesn't criticize. What does it mean? It doesn't mean that we should not criticize, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes that there should be criticism as per necessity for the welfare of others, for one's own welfare, for the welfare of the person, and for the welfare of the whole world. Sometimes there should be criticism also. It is not because in Bhagavad Gita also, the acharyas, the commentaries, if you read, Srila Prabhupada sometimes he says, demoniac people, fool number one, he criticizes miscreants. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna criticizes, Chatur Namam Duskritino Mudha Prabhadyante. So we see that in scriptures also criticism is there. The acharyas also they criticize. So why? Because for the welfare of the whole world, for the welfare of those people whom he is pointing to, and for the welfare of the whole world also. So some thoughtful criticism is appreciated. Huh? Huh? Third is for one's own welfare, for the person. And the last disqualification is Nacha mam yo abhya suyati. One who is envious. One should not be envious of God. What does this mean? We see there are so many bogus incarnations in today's world. There are so many pseudo swamis and bogus incarnations of God who proclaim themselves to be God. They are envious of God. They want to become God. Enviousness means we want to become God. We think that we are God. Why Krishna should be God? So you see, there are so many bogus incarnations, pseudo swamis. So Krishna says that those who are envious, aham isam sarva yajnanam bhokta cha prabhureja na tu mam abhijanati tatvena tas chavanti te. That one who doesn't accept Krishna, that as bhokta cha prabhureva cha. Bhokta of what? Sarva yajnanam bhokta cha prabhu. Na tu mam abhijanati. If you don't know this, tatvena tas in full detail, in full in depth, if you don't understand that Krishna is the enjoyer, I don't have any proprietorship of over anything in this world. Right? Krishna is the bhokta of all the sacrifices of all our efforts, whatever efforts we are doing. Cha Prabhu is the master. Prabhu means he's the master. If you don't understand this, Chavanti, we will fall down. Right? So all these bogus incarnations and swamis, so Prabhupada writes in the purport that this in the 9th chapter 24th verse, we'll just read. Prabhupada mentions a very important statement in that. Ninth chapter 24th verse. The professional form of human civilization known as Varnashram Dharma is specifically meant for satisfying Vishnu. Therefore, Krishna says in this verse, I am the enjoyer of all sacrifices because I am the supreme master. Less intelligent persons, however, without knowing this fact, worship demigods for temporary benefit. How it manifests? The enviousness of Krishna, how it manifests? By worshipping demigods. Because we don't want to accept Krishna as God. Right? So without knowing this fact, worship demigods for temporary benefit. Therefore, they fall down to material existence and do not achieve the desired goal of life. If, however, anyone has any material desire to fulfill, he had better pray for it to the Supreme Lord. So different ways it manifests. So Prabhupada writes in one more purport that the reason for India's downfall is because not to accept Krishna as God. And because when you don't accept Krishna as God, what were the consequences of that? These bogus incarnations and swamis, they popped up. And because of that, because of this enviousness of Krishna, Chavantite, India's downfall. Because it is saying Chavantite, you will fall down. Why India fell down? Once upon a time, India was the richest country and all the opulences were there. Why there was a downfall in India? There are many sociological studies and anthropological studies. Why these studies are there? Like these studies are there to understand the downfall of civilizations. So what was the main reason for the downfall of India's civilization? It is mentioned here that forgetfulness of Krishna as God, accepting no, not to accept Krishna as God, and accepting some demigods, some demigods as God, some bogus incarnation, some bogus Swami, Sai Baba, you see, such cheap level the Indians have gone. So this is the reason of fall down of India. And there are so Krishna is not just Krishna is a historical figure. He's not a mythological figure. Many times there are popularly accepted swamis like Vivekananda. They say that whether Krishna and the Pandavas existed, and whether Mahabharata happened, it is a question mark. It is a question mark, he says, and they are accepted as big swamis, who doubt on the existence of Krishna in itself. So Krishna is not just a historical figure; he's the supreme person. And this is all this we have to understand. He is the supreme person. When Krishna was there in the womb of Devaki, all the demigods they came and they prayed to Krishna. And it is said, Satyavatam Satyaparam Trisatyam Satyasya Yonim Nihitam Sacha Satye Satyasya Satyam Rita Satya Netram Satyatmakam Tvam Sharanam Prapannaha. So his truth, demigods, they pray to Krishna. His truth in all the three phases of time, in the past, present, and future. And he's not a mythological figure. He's a truth in all the three phases of time. The demigods prayed, "Oh Lord, you never deviate from your vow, which is always perfect, because whatever you decide is perfectly correct. Satyavratam, and cannot be stopped by anyone. Being present in three phases of cosmic manifestation, creation, maintenance, and annihilation, you are the supreme truth." So before the creation, after the creation, and after the annihilation, in all the three phases, Krishna is present. Indeed, unless one is completely truthful, you cannot achieve your favor. One cannot achieve your favor, which therefore cannot be achieved by hypocrites. You are the active principle, the real truth in all the ingredients of creation, and therefore you are known as Antaryami, the inner force. You are equal to everyone, and your instructions apply for everyone for all time. You are the beginning of all truth. Therefore, offering our obeisances, we surrender unto you. Kindly give us protection. This is the prayer of the demigods to the supreme personality of Godhead. So we should try to develop all these qualities, right? So we'll just read that shloka, 18 chapter 67 shloka. The purport will just read it, because that is the most relevant shloka. So I'll read the translation and purport of 1867. This confidential knowledge may never be explained to those who are not austere or devoted or engaged in devotional service, nor to one who is envious of me. Right? These are the 4 disqualifications. Purport. Persons who have not undergone the austerities of the religious process, who have never attempted devotional service in Krishna consciousness, who have not tended a pure devotee, and especially those who are conscious of Krishna only as a historical personality, or who are envious of the greatness of Krishna, should not be told this most confidential part of knowledge. So I told Krishna is not a mythological personality, and he is also not just a historical figure, not just a historical person, a great historical person. No, he is the supreme God. So these are the 2 misconceptions. Those who accept Krishna also, they just accept him as a great person. And there are people who don't accept Krishna as anybody who existed. It is, however, sometimes found that even demoniac persons who are envious of Krishna, worshipping Krishna in a different way, take to the profession of explaining Bhagavad Gita in a different way to make business. But anyone who desires actually to understand Krishna must avoid such commentaries. This is another form of enviousness. Distorting the meanings of Bhagavad Gita, writing unscrupulous commentaries on Bhagavad Gita to make a business out of it. So in the 4th chapter, 1st shloka, purport, Prabhupada writes that Bhagavad Gita is not meant for mundane scholars. In the 2nd shloka, purport, Prabhupada writes, it is not meant for the demoniac who interpret Bhagavad Gita. So they also cannot understand. This is a form of enviousness. Right. So these 4 disqualifications, they manifest in different ways. While going to demigods, going to bogus swamis and incarnations, this is what? This is the downfall. This is the reasons for the downfall of India. So we'll not read the whole purport. This is something different topic which is there. So whatever was relevant, we have read. So we have discussed who is not qualified to hear today. And tomorrow we'll again start the discussion from who is qualified to hear Bhagavad Gita. Okay. Hare Krishna. Anybody has any question, you can ask. Is there any question, any doubt? So everybody can try to
Hare Krishna.
memorize these shlokas because it will come in the exams. You know? So what happens to those who are not faithful to understand Bhagavad Gita, third chapter, 31st shloka, 32nd shloka, fourth chapter, 40th shloka. These are the few shlokas we discussed. And 18th chapter also. Na shoshasi vinamshasi. These are the few shlokas which you have to remember. And the reasons why Bhagavad Gita is not dogmatic. We have to, what we discussed yesterday. Why the reasons, what reasons I gave, because it is in the form of questions and answers. And Krishna, his instructions are just an expression of sympathy and compassion. We should remember this. And who is not qualified to hear Bhagavad Gita, 18 chapter 67 shloka we discussed today. And yesterday what we discussed, we already have revised it. Yeah. अश्वत्थधाना पुरुषा धर्मस्यास्य परन्तप अप्राप्य मां मृत्यु संसार वर्तते. That will also come.